Hey there, I go by the name Gray, and I'll be showing you my 1-year art progress. Quick disclaimer, this is not my first year getting into art. I did take private art classes when I was younger, and I'm very grateful for that experience that got me here. I was first inspired to pursue my art dream seriously by a professional artist named Chiu. One of his videos during the first month of my art journey in January greatly inspired me. I should also mention that before I started learning the technical side of art, such as anatomy, perspective, light, and color, I was first casually making my own art, and I was also casually making cover art and character art for free for authors on Royal Road and Scribble Hub, both places where writers post their written creations for readers online for free. One author did graciously pay me for my hard work, and I got my very first digital art commission ever from another author, so shout out to Simo, thank you. And so, at the beginning of my art journey in January 2022, I felt pretty good. But then I started doing the fundamentals of art in high spirits actually, and I was pretty much producing pretty good results, or it's at least what I thought at the time. But at other times, I also realized how far I was from my personal art goals. I was familiar with drawings and paintings that were realistic and didn't deviate too far from my reference photo. No piece of art I created was fully mine, creative enough, and presentable enough for me to call it completely my own. If I did make one of those, they turned out, well, pretty bad. Even if I was happy with some, which I was at some points happy with some, but those were not often and kind of rare. They were nearly always rough and incomplete. I wanted to create my own characters and environments proficiently and decently, and later on, I wanted to be good enough to create a competitive webtoon like those OG Korean webtoon artists, such as the artists who created Solo Leveling or Unholy Blood. Those were amazing. And so I figured out that I needed to master perspective and anatomy to reach my dream. So from January to approximately August to September, I finally was able to get the basics of perspective and anatomy down, mainly from the help of taking classes from Korean illustrator Sungmoo Heo from Colosso and Mark Brunette, a professional artist who formerly worked at Riot Games. I was able to memorize importantly anatomical parts of the body, and I began to create poses without copying the reference limb for limb. By the time September rolled around, I thought it was time for me to take up commissions. You may be thinking, wait, what about color theory and the principles of light? Well, I, at that time, pretentiously thought that I could do without it and start taking commissions in a set art style. So basically during September, I was trying to find my art style so I could do commissions and start earning money for art. Little did I know that without, at least for me, without color theory and knowledge about light and things like that, I found it really hard to produce consistent and great results, at least toward my goals and standards. So I still remember that during this period from September to probably November, I was very much in despair. I, for some reason, started to create pieces that I was especially disappointed and dissatisfied about. I was exhausted because I spent hours upon hours and days upon a lot of the art pieces that you probably see on screen right now, and maybe one or two looked okay to me and barely sufficient in quality, at least towards my standards and purposes, but overall I found that I needed to learn color and I needed to learn light. So I eventually did buy a book, and I started to take a break from making art and just start reading about all the principles that I am missing from those specific fundamentals of art. And after that, I definitely felt more confident, more sure of what I was doing. I wasn't really guessing upon the colors as much, but I still did not create the results I wanted. As you can see from the current piece on screen, it wasn't the best and something was wrong. And to the best of my ability, I thought I picked the colors technically alright. It was technically okay to me, but there was so much for me to learn and so much for me to practice. So I'm showing you all these failures just because I personally do want to see the failures. I didn't mean that in a bad way. But I think it's always nice to see the not so good pieces, because mostly we often see very good pieces on social media, and maybe we ourselves might think that there is something wrong with us, even though we in our logicality do understand that these are filtered pieces that we see online. But it's always good to see the failures, at least for me. Anyways, continuing on. Anyways, I definitely, from this year, I was the most unsatisfied with my art from September to about October. So it was definitely hard to recover from a lot of disappointment towards my art, and since art during this time was so important to me, it was hard not to take it personally. But at some point during November and a little bit of December, I just decided that instead of focusing so much technically more on my goals as I had been from the previous months, I decided that I would just continue to work on the fundamentals more and more, especially color and light, by making a new project, a new personal and creative project, and a project that is a stepping stone toward my goal. And if you didn't know already, one of my top goals as an artist is that I really would like to become an independent professional artist that makes super good and high quality webtoons with great storytelling and great art in the future. I also would really love to make illustrations, and I'm really interested in animated illustrations as well. So I decided for the rest of this year, I was going to pursue a little personal project. Not little, but actually kind of big. I assume it's going to take even up to 4 years for me to complete it, but slow and steady wins the race. So from November and a bit of October, I decided to start creating character concept sheets for a webtoon that I was trying to make. And in that process, I found I got to practice using color into my line art, and I found that, hey, color is not too hard now. And I was able to, at least for some, I was able to start seeing better and better results pertaining to my color compositions. And I was happy that I didn't seem so stuck as I thought I was. There are definitely areas that I need to improve on, but I was glad to see that I was improving. So ultimately, by the end of the year, I think there was one main thing that I improved on, and I'm very glad about this improvement. At the beginning of the year, all of the quote-unquote good pieces I could create could only be good because I was relying so heavily on reference, and the only quote-unquote good pieces are the more realistic pieces, such as portraits and environments that are based kind of heavily on real life. And I wasn't able to create my own characters confidently. I wasn't able to create my own environments as confidently as well. But by the end of the year, I was able to see that, hey, I can draw my own poses, or I can rely on a pose I find online, but I can now conveniently change the pose, like change the arms direction, the legs directions, the hair, the hands direction into something different, because I know the innate structure and the innate anatomy of the figure. So I was really happy that I was able to create my own creative poses and stylize my characters well enough that I don't really despise looking at them anymore as I had before. So during December, I did not get as much art done as I would like, but at the end of the year, I was really motivated by a giveaway, kind of like a Secret Santa giveaway on a Discord server. And I was assigned to give a gift to another person, another artist. So that really motivated me to create this very last piece, which I am somewhat happy about. I can see the flaws, but in it, I can really see that how much I have improved and how much I have learned. For instance, from this piece, it showed me how far I have come from the beginning of this year. For example, I used my own perspective. I did not look at a pose for reference as heavily or at all, and I have built a basic and really basic, but it's still present, understanding of light and how shadow interacts with light, and I implemented my understanding of values and color theory as well as composition. So I'm really grateful for how far I've come, and I'm glad that I was able to make this very last piece as the final piece of my art progress of 2022. A few objects are suspicious. One or two objects in there might look a little too much like an image online, but besides those, in the general scheme of things, I can say that this piece is creative enough to be called my own. Anyways, thank you for watching. I wish you all the best in whatever journey you are making, and if you want to see me work on my webtoon, and if you want to see more from me, please consider subscribing to my channel. And I also hope to put out in the future a lot of more long form and potentially podcasty content on my channel, just because I was always happy to find any long form talking videos that I could just put at the side and listen to as I work on my own things. And I really would like this channel to be another space for that, where you can be productive in your own things, because I know that social media has a lot of content that somewhat encourages a lot of distraction and does not really help us concentrate on our own things. So I hope that even if you are on YouTube, you can find spaces to focus on your own things, but also have something to listen to at the side. So thank you for watching, and I wish you all a good life, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.